How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Good. So, for a lot of people out there who aren't familiar with Stacked 3D News, give us some insight about, your site, how you started, and kind of like the journey that you've been on to get where you are now.
Yeah, so Stacked was started roughly about, 12 years ago, I think, maybe, if I'm remembering right.
Mm.
Um, so it's 12 years ago, and it was pretty much the goal was to share as much news about supplements as possible. And that's kind of what we've been doing ever since. It was realistically a hobby. So I did it after college. Very early on, it was never meant to be a full-time job. It was mostly a just a candid hobby that I did, and basically turned into a job when think I think it was I think just when we started getting quite a bit of attention and realized what we were doing was realistically a service
Mm.
at some point, and then we realized it was just the amount of attention that we got from brands and I guess the need for what we were doing.
Mm.
And then I think I was working three or four jobs uh, when I out of college, and then kind of it became my primary job. Maybe 3 years later, 2 years later. I mean, I wasn't really making any money off originally. It wasn't a paid thing. It evolved into that, and then that was when it became an actual job.
Mm. I remember, the way that I discovered you actually is I read one of your articles on one of the supplements that you had written about Nutrabolics, and I said to Rodney, "This is the best writer I've ever read. Like your writing skills is like high level. Like I was like, wow, like this guy can write. That's I think when we reached out to you, and like the depth and the overview that you give to the products, it's real substantial, and I feel like it adds a lot of value. And I feel like, maybe part of your success has been obviously being able to deliver that in such a nice, clean package that's easy for people to understand, like everyday
Yeah,
people.
I mean
Uh,
that was one of the goals was being able to communicate the information to a broader audience. I mean, as if you communicate it as simply, well, not simply, but as easily as possible, that can translate to uh, both audiences, advanced and new.
yeah.
Whereas if you just sort of speak into the advanced side of things and talk about, mechanisms of action and pathways and ingredients and stuff like that, that can, you know, off put off some of the newcomers that might think this is a little bit too complex for them. And I myself was in that position when I started, so it was a key to communicate to both sides of the coin, the advanced and the beginning consumer.
Tell us a little bit about like how long did it take you to start, really ramping up? Like give us some insight for the entrepreneurs and the people out there who are maybe they're starting a new business. Like give us kind of like the details of like when and how Stack started to blow up.
Ooh, it was pretty honest. To be honest, it was quite a slow thing. Like I didn't stop doing what I've been do. I still what I do today is very much the same as what I did in the beginning. The only change is, I guess, the when it became my full-time job, then I was able to realistically put a lot more effort into it at a single time. I was able to just do it at a much faster pace. I was able to become a little more efficient. I was able to do more, basically. And it was when that attention came on and I was able to become much better at it, become much more efficient. And yeah, because I mean, the only time it became a full-time job was when I was actually being paid for it, obviously. So it was for the first 2 or 3 years, I didn't get any money. It was mostly just for fun.
Mm.
And then someone offered to buy an ad space. Someone offered to put ads on the site, and then I said sure, but I didn't charge them for it. I thought it was just a proud moment for me to be like, cool, I could put an ad there.
Mm.
And then it wasn't until a competitor said, "How much is that person paying?" And then I thought maybe I should say how much I think that person should pay, and then that that happened. It was like a monthly thing, and then someone else came along and said, "How much is that person paying?" And then I just kind of added, and then expanded from there, and then it yeah ended up where it was. Where now we usually on that advertising side we book out like a year in advance, so it's not um, never short in that area, but that kind of just allowed us to do more of what we do. And then with being able to do that has come the, I guess, the attention and the success and the, I guess, ability to reach that wider audience.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really realized that you guys had, you know, blown up when you obviously made that announcement about, I think it's the Olympia coming up. You're doing a whole
Oh, the
big,
Arnold. Yeah, that was last. Yeah, this year just been. That was pretty big.
yeah, tell us a little bit about what was that all about?
That was coincidentally I was reached out to because the Arnold was going to advertise. They wanted to advertise on the site, and as I just said, we don't. If you're looking to advertise like within the month or so, we don't have that schedule. And so I said, I was like, I'm all booked out. But I asked him, like, why did you want to advertise? Like, that's a very odd thing for the Arnold to do it. And he said they wanted to reach a smaller, like smaller brands, moderate sized brands. And then because I was like, we didn't have anything available. There wasn't anything for me to gain. I was kind of being quite blunt, and I said, like, what, like they already know what the Arnold is. What do you think you're going to be able to change? Like a lot of the smaller brands don't go for a specific reason, like whether it's the pricing's not right for them, the size is not right. Like there are many things that I knew that the smaller guys disliked about certain events, and so then he basically was okay to remedy these issues, and then that was what resulted in the the stacked pavilion at the Arnold, where we basically created an area custom built basically for smaller brands. So it was an area where no brand could do bigger than 10 feet, and no one could do anything above a 10 by 30. So like you could do 10 by 10, 10 by 20, 10 by 30. No one could do an island. Everyone kind of had similar style like booth layouts. And the other thing was that a lot of people didn't like the sort of getting the pricing at the end, like learning that you had to now pay for power and Wi-Fi, and these things would be surprises to smaller brands. And so we created packages that were all in one basically. So they weren't the money that they paid up front was all they paid. There wasn't anything, and so all of this was kind of rolled into that, and then we executed at the Arnold this year, and we had 25 different brands, all supplement companies, or like nutrition brands, like some protein snacks in there, energy drinks, all within the space, and they all had a tremendous time, and it was just out of pure luck that it ended up playing out how it did, and executed. I mean, it was originally meant to be 5 to 10 brands, and then, like I said, it ended on 25, and that was just not what I expected or the Arnold expected, but turned out fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously saw the photos and the videos and stuff like that, and it looked like a great turnout. You know, I wanted to just ask you a little bit about Nutrabolics and like essentially, you know, what was your first Nutrabolics product that you tried, and has there been any products that you've tried over the years that kind of for you?
Carnivolic was that's the one, right? Like that's the one that I think had put you on the map for me, because
Okay.
that's been around for a while, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That's one of my favorite products, if not my favorite product. Yes, it's been around for a decade almost.
Yeah, that was the one that because that was what you had been known for. But when that product came onto my radar, that was shortly around the time where you then did Supernova.
Mm.
So it wasn't like so like it's Supernova was the most like was the one that I remember the most. But Carnivolic was the original product that that kind of got me to know Nutrabolics way back.
Mm.
But Supernova, if I remember correctly, because I when I when you guys first released Supernova, and I think it's interesting now what you've done with Supernova Legacy, because when you first did Supernova, it wasn't exactly explicit that you could throw down like the double serving,
Mm.
but it made sense to me because I was like, well, I didn't necessarily want uh, 200 milligrams of caffeine. I wanted like that seemed like too little,
Mm.
and so I doubled it very early on. And at the time, 400 milligrams of caffeine had been becoming more prominent,
Mm.
and it was obviously at the time pretty intense like formula because you had 12 grams of citrulline in citrulline malate in there as well, and it was a pretty. I think you guys were saying this the other day that it was a pretty groundbreaking dosages in that double serving at the beginning.
Mm.
But ever since that, I was like, this is 12 grams is my favorite. That was my, and it was very early on because I think back then you either had the 6 grams of malate, maybe eight. Um, Not many people were doing pure citrulline, and so when I remember seeing that, that was kind of a pretty big deal. I thought from and not to be like a knock, but from a company in Canada where the rules and restrictions are a little bit
Mm.
like well, not a little bit, quite a bit harsher, lot tougher now than they were back then, but like still pretty tough to do that. You know, where when down the bottom you got America that prides itself in doing things first and being the more innovative one. That was really interesting to see, really exciting to see, and I think it really helped put Nutrabolics. Not that they weren't already on the map, but I think it definitely got the brand out there. Definitely put it, like considering I'd only just recently learned about the brand, it was quite significant for me.
Mm. Tell us a little bit about, like, obviously you have a big variety of brands sending you stuff, all the time. You've got people sending you stuff. If you had to choose one Nutrabolics product, what would it be?
It's got to be Supernova. I mean, it's because I mean over the years I have my essentials, but originally pre-workout was never that essential product, right? Like back in the day, it was there were even people who had pre-workouts that said have it like 3 times a week at most, or maybe so they wouldn't encourage you to have it every day. Whereas I think over the time that the pre-workout categories developed, it's now very common where it is an essential type supplement, right? You'd have it every workout. You might even have a half serving for the workouts that you care slightly less about or aren't going to be as demanding. So I
Mm.
think it's a that like pre-workout Supernova for me is. But if I had to choose, even though like you guys have always done great proteins, and the Carnivolic has a core memory. The Supernova, like I said, when I saw that you guys were coming with Supernova Legacy, I was immediately like, this is going to be exciting to see. And then you obviously said biggest launch in 22-year history. That kind
Yeah.
of boosted it up even more.
Well, we're trying to deliver on our word, and I feel like definitely the impact we've made in the short time that the legacy's been out speaks for itself. I mean, I think, we've been just blowing through like thousands and thousands of bottles. It's been an insane launch. So, I'm happy to hear that people, because we had a monster following for Supernova, the rig, that just banging on our doors for years
Yeah.
to bring it back. So then we were like, okay, like let's do this, but let's do it right. Let's do it big. Let's fucking throw down on this because obviously that category is very saturated, as you know, right? So we had to come out with like, innovative new flavors. The flavors couldn't just be good. I remember trying every fucking pre-workout you could think of. And I had to try all of the competitors and then put ours up against it. And it was just a long process, right, to get this out the door because I'm like, listen, like if we're gonna launch this, like we're up against some tough competitors. Like we
Yeah.
gotta hard. Like, this can't just taste good. Like, it's got to be like, wow, you know? So I think we finally hit it. We did it right. And now the impact and the consumers and the feedback has been, you know, wow, like it's just been great. But I want to talk a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about like what's coming up for you, Stack News. What do you guys got in the pipeline? Anything exciting that you can let us know about?
Ooh, I mean, right now we're in the midst of working on the return of our Stacked Online Expo, which we've done every year. We first did it in 2016, I think, and then 17, 18, and then for whatever reason, I think we stopped it in 2019 and revisited it in 2020, kind of when, during COVID, when it kind of seemed like a good time anyway. So we did it, and we've done it every year since 2020. And we're working on retooling that. And the Arnold for 2025 we're well underway under preparation for that. We're adding, I believe it is 50% more space to it, so it'll be a little larger for next year. Similar kind of guidelines, so the brands will still be similar size. No one's going to be kind of out muscled by the guy next to them. Similar rules. Everyone seemed to really, really like that, and so we wanted to keep it. And then we're also, right now, we've got Clash of the Cans, which is sort of like I guess you could say, like a showdown between energy drinks. We had 120 to start, maybe 130 to start, and everyone gets to vote on everyone. And then after the first round, the top 16 go through, and then currently we're in round 2, so it's 4 groups of 4. And then we go week by week, and in 2 weeks there'll be the final. And so then the winner gets crowned Clash of the Cans champion. I do actually have my replica trophy that I had made. It's quite heavy, so it's like a fully cast trophy. It's a replica 16-ounce energy drink can, and so it was the winner gets that, and then it's got like a base. Their version will have a base. Mine has just the straight can, and I think it weighs like 6 pounds or something. It's not light.
Wow.
But it was, and yeah, the winner gets to take home that. It's one of the we try, and every time we do a trophy for anything, we make sure it's something different. I hated the idea of doing a trophy that was like the same for each event or same for each sort of thing that we did. Hence why we do the Super Bowl ring for the Protein Wars at the end of the year.
So, in terms of your audience, are you guys have an audience worldwide, or is it mostly Canada? Can you put some insight on that?
So was that
Your audience, tell us a little bit, like, because I was under the impression that your main audience was in Canada. Are you guys global now? Is it a mix? Can you give us some insight on that?
So, if I were to break it down percentage-wise, so we get, I mean, I would say several thousand visitors a day to the site, and that breakdown for me would be about, I think it's like 60%, 65% American, maybe 5 to 10% is then Canadian, and then about 10 to 15 is then spread across the UK and Europe. And I would think that the big countries out in Europe are like, I think you got Poland, Germany, Sweden. We have a big following in Sweden. And then from there, I think what your remaining 10% is spread across about 100 different countries. Bigger ones being like Australia, Japan, India, Brazil. We have a strong following in likes of Malaysia and Singapore. So it's realistically, it's primarily the US, but I like to say that it is a very dedicated, hardcore audience. So if you're following Stacked, it's not that you're buying one supplement, you're buying probably five to 10 a month, right? And when you see that spread, like there are people around the world, like in these countries that have the same habits as other people.
Mm.
That's so I think that's a pretty cool thing to see. And obviously a lot of them are industry people as well. Like I know we get uh, distributors, retailers from all over the globe sort of messaging and saying love what you do, and they'll be like I said, like a distributor in China or like a retailer chain in Brazil, or you had some guy from France who owns a couple of stores the other week. So it's a very diverse audience, but it is 60, I would say 65% American, 75, 80% North American if you want to
Mm.
measure the continent.
Mm. And I mean, for people that come to your site, right? I mean, like, I know a lot of people know about your site, but let's say I'm a newbie, I'm new to your site. What are most of your audience coming to your site for? Like, is there a specific, like, articles? Like, what's the main attraction to, like, what makes Stack3D different?
So about a third of the people that come to the site are coming straight. So like it's not, and maybe another third are from social platforms and stuff that follow and have links or emails that see it. Majority of them are just coming for what we do day to day, like seeing the latest, seeing what's out there, seeing what's just hit the market, such as Supernova Legacy. So they would come on and they would learn. It does take a bit of a, I would say, an informed mind. Like if you go on there and you don't absolutely love supplements, you're going to be like, what the hell is this? You are probably going to be like, if you only know a couple brands and you go on there and you see, or like you just know a single category and you go on there and you see these protein bars, these energy drinks, these functional foods, these like hybrid fat burners, you are probably going to be like, this is a bit too much. But if you're someone that's well versed in supplements, knows them, again, an industry worker who might be running the store that knows 100 or so brands, it would be tremendously eye-opening. So I think when people end up finding Stacked, eventually, as they always do, they tend to stick and learn because we notoriously don't take a day off each year. So the only day I take off is Christmas. Every other day, there's always anywhere from 3 to 15 different news stories going on there about product developments, uh, updates, tweaks, any sort of announcement. And it's yeah, I mean it, it's most people are coming direct and then socials, and then we get obviously newcomers that stumble across it, whether it's via search or it's again they saw it on social but they're not a follower. And I mean, to be honest, the biggest attraction right now in terms of categories that people are interested in, it's hydration sports drinks, which is a stark difference to last year when it was all energy drinks. So it's very interesting to see that there's been a shift so quickly and so prominently that people are now uh, taking this huge interest in hydration drinks like Prime, um, obviously being one of the bigger ones, and Body Armor and Gatorade and all that stuff. And so there's been this big attraction and new learning experience, I think, around that whole category, as well as hydration powder supplements too.
So, where do you see the industry moving? Do you see, like, what would be the next big thing? I guess the question is, like, what do you think is going to be? It was hydration. Now, what's coming? What do you think is coming?
Ooh. There's the I always go by the saying that if you know what everyone wants, you're either a millionaire or a liar. And it's I would think hydration's going to still be the big one for a little bit. It doesn't seem to be like slowing down, and the people that are entering that space don't seem to be lacking on impact. Like even though we've seen a lot of them, people who are coming out with these things like for the first time are still getting a lot of attention. They're making a lot of noise. I would say and I mean, this is kind of, I would say since 2018, 2019, it's been somewhat of a trend. And I remember hearing this in Europe. Someone was telling me that big brands' powder business was down a certain percentage year after year. And this was in Europe, and they were saying that I wouldn't name the brand, but the brand started doing a few drinks, doing a few bars, and it was very much an indication that the more convenient categories were becoming of interest. And I remember when I was in Sweden, in fact, anywhere in Scandinavia, you'd go to a gym, and outside the front, you used to seeing tubs of protein, tubs of creatine. I was there, and they had only bars, only drinks, and throughout the gym's rubbish bins were cans. And I was sort of like, I got the idea that absolutely no one was bulk supplementing like I did,
Mm.
and I didn't know if it was out of convenience because they had them at the gym so easily with all these options, or it was just an economical thing. Either way, fast forward, energy drinks have become as essential as pre-workouts. People will buy them in bulk. Brands have made it easy to buy it in bulk, where they will sell you cases with your pre-workout, and it's a very normal thing. And now with hydration drinks, it is a different category, it's a different purpose, but it seems to even lead more into what I was saying about the like this shift to convenient things. People might, even though it's not as cost effective and the formula isn't as like it can't ever be as intense, I think people are willing to pay that extra money so that they can just buy a singular bottle or a singular unit than buying a tub of 30. I think there's a growing area of that. And I think the rise in energy drinks, the rise in sports drinks, protein bars, even protein shakes is a good I think it's just sort of further highlighting that sort of dynamic shift, because you go back to when you guys first launched Supernova. I mean, I don't really think there were many supplement companies that had energy drinks.
Mm.
None of them had sports drinks. Very few had protein RTDs, and protein bars were still kind of creeping into their own to where they become, yeah, like a mainstay as they are now.
I know you must be a big enthusiast, obviously starting Stack News with supplements. Was there a Nutrabolics product that you maybe would reuse? I know you said Supernova would be the one product, but
Oh
was
yeah,
that you went back to numerous times throughout your career?
the one I've actually gone back to would be Carnibolic, because to be honest, it's so I do travel a lot. I do go to a lot of different markets, and strangely enough, like carnitine is a very, like, for me it's one of those things I have daily, and if it's cardio, I have it before cardio or whatever. It's very hard these days to find a somewhat slightly more advanced carnitine supplement. Like for a while there that was kind of all we were getting, and now it's a little more liquid carnitines, but like it's very very hard to find one. And I'm like a person of habit, so like if there was a, and I understand that with marketing and everything, it's very encouraging, but if I have a pre-workout in front of me that says it's the next best thing, and I have a pre-workout that I know it, through and through, I know how well it is, I know how good it is, I know I can knock out a workout with it, and it's something like back day or legs, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to grab the one I know because I don't want to waste the workout. So when it comes to choosing a carnitine supplement, and I'm like on the lookout for one, and I'm prepared to utilize the entire set, then I'm not going to opt for something I don't know. And so having Carnibolic there throughout the years, in the various markets that I've been to, it's like a habit thing, right? Like it's,
Mm.
you go to a shelf in a country that might not speak English and you see something you recognize, you're very likely going to grab that. And I mean, so it's not a supplement that I'm saying I would go back to. I'm saying it's a supplement I have gone back to and used a few times for that purpose of just, you know, you know what it is,
Mm.
and you can rely on it, and you have used it. And yeah, so it's that would be the one. And as you said, it's one of the longer running ones in the Nutrabolics family.
Well, to be honest with you, one of the interesting facts about Carnivalic is over the 10 years, every single year, this is the only product that has went up in sales every
That's
year. Like
crazy.
there's a sales cycle, you know, 3, 4
Yeah.
years, then we reformulate it or whatnot, right? But the Carnivalic still continues, and I tell people this because I'm really into the fasting these days, and I fast for, you know, anywhere from 18 to 20 hours a day. And people say, "Oh my God, isn't that hard on you?" And I said, "Well, if you try drinking the Carnivalic,
Yeah.
it's literally a game changer. Like my hunger is like under control. It gives me that little bit of sweetness, and I can have a few servings throughout the day, and there's no crash. Like people are like, really? Like I'm like, no. Like you just like this isn't like a high stim. This is a very low, mild, just upper. But I think the taste, the feel, and obviously you said the formula. I mean, it is pretty much, you know, like I don't know, like when I don't even know who we compete against. Like, you know, usually like say I'm in the pre-workout category, I have a million competitors, but in the Carnivalic case, I don't really see anybody as a competitor. Like truthfully, like I don't even have somebody that I could think of in the top of my mind where I'm like, oh, we need to, like, because I feel like Carnivalic has been just leading the pack, like just been literally setting the trend. So it's good to hear that, you know, you're behind that, because when I go out and meet with some of the clients, that's the one I get really excited about because I'm using it every day, like every single day. Like I don't even take a day off. So that one is my all-time, probably the one I use the most out of all the Nutrabolics products. But I wanted to ask you, you know, for someone who's been in the industry as long as you have, obviously, how long has it been now? Like what has it been? 10 years?
Probably been about 12, 10 to 12. Yeah, somewhere around there, I think. I would say 12.
What do you think about this whole, you know, transition of what's going on with the metaverse? Do you feel that Stack is going to be in some way using AI, transforming into that sort of new realm? What kind of insight? Because obviously you're in the media space, and the media space is evolving, right? Let's face it. Like, can you give us some insight on anything that's in that world, or are you heading in that direction?
I mean, the AI stuff is from what I like everything with the website and Stack that we've done. I always did pretty much myself, and so it was when the kind of, I guess you would say, the more mainstream level of AI came about. I mean, I thought it was fantastic, and from what I understand, it it just helps when you're a one man army like myself. Like it basically allows you to be more, or it gives you the ability to do more. So I've already incorporated a bunch of things on the coding side that speed up the website. I've introduced a whole bunch of programming things made with that to speed up image processing. We use it a lot for the images that we get, so to clean them up, to expand them. So a lot of the time I get products or images that are not greatly presented. They might need some cleaning up. They might not be the right width or height. So I use AI to regenerate, or generative expand is what you call it, where you would add to the background and it would make it more presentable. You could raise the resolution on these things. And we also use it for summaries. So when you do searches on the internet, there's a little thing called like a meta description. And so we use AI to generate the description based on what's been written, and it does it in a heartbeat, so it speeds up that whole process instead of me having to kind of rewrite it all and set up a description that way. And we use it a lot for sometimes summarizing studies. So if there's a new study that's out, you can sort of get a brief summary and understand it very, very quickly. So it's pretty much speeds up my job and everything we were already doing to a much, much, much faster level. I think it's most brands, in fact, if not all companies, could probably incorporate it in some way to aid in what they were doing to make themselves more efficient. And then it's the opportunity is to introduce it creatively, because we played with it last year and created a brand name generator. So it uses AI to create, based on the names of brands on Stacked, it uses it can create something similar. and it'll spit out names that you've never heard before. But it was just a little toy that we made as an example. So there are a lot of different things and ways you can utilize it, and I'm all for it when you can. If I can put more out into, if it can help Stack to deliver its service better and more efficiently and more comprehensively, then it's like if I can inform people better or faster, then it's. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Well, I remember having a meeting not too long ago and saying, I don't know how the hell this guy got the photo of Supernova Legacy, because we hadn't even released our Supernova Legacy and you're already posting. Thought, how the hell is this guy releasing a photo? Like, how did he even get this photo? Like, I'm the one releasing it, handling the marketing. I'm like, I haven't released a single photo. And somehow, some way, I thought to myself, he must have some AI or some way that he was able to extract that, because I did like kind of like a teaser video, but then
you did a teaser. Yeah, and I pieced it together. Yeah,
a video that you could grab that, you know, like shot. Like
yep.
I thought there was just a tad, like I had kind of, you know, given that sort of taste, but you went in there and got it and put it line within like, I don't know, it must have been minutes, because it was like, from the moment I dropped that teaser, it was like, boom, the whole image was out there. I was pretty impressed. Not to, you know, I was literally like, wow, like these guys don't play. So congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like that was a big deal. And, you know, obviously we really appreciate all the support you guys have given us over the years. Is there anything today that you wanted to talk about? Like anything at all that I haven't covered?
Whoa. Not really. I mean, it's incredibly comprehensive. I think like you said, covered where it started, where it's going, what we've got going on. I think that. I mean, maybe I can turn it over to you and say, is there anything in the Nutrabolics pipeline that you know? Obviously, Supernova Legacy was just dropped, so it's. I always hate asking that question when someone drops something new, and I say, "What else you got coming?" As if this wasn't enough. But I wouldn't be stacked if I didn't ask.
This is a great question. Well, obviously, because of obviously the impact that Supernova has made, I think the biggest thing that we're kind of playing with right now is I have a cupboard full of new samples.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just like, you know, that would be, you know, without releasing anything, I mean, you know, I think that would be probably something that I could say is in the pipeline. But, you know, anybody who knows me, you know, knows that until I have 10 people that are, you know, all saying, wow, we don't launch shit. You know, how do you like launch something? I'm like, because I can't just launch a good flavor. Like we can't, like, forget about it. It's got to be amazing. I need you to say, wow. Like my whole philosophy with my product line goes to this question. If I have to ask you how it is, it's not good enough. You should just tell me. You should just tell me. If I have to say, hey, did you like that product? Then we need to start working on it some more. Like people take a bar, they're like, you see their face, they're like, wow, you know, like then I know we're ready to roll, you know. And so with Supernova Legacy, I mean, I think that's what I'm going for right now. I got some exciting things that we're working on. I just had a wow this morning. I was on the phone with my factory saying, wow, like this is so. Hopefully we can, you know, make a few more little tweaks and maybe put something out in the next short bit. But other than that, you know, that's what I can tell you today. And, you know, I really appreciate you coming on the Perform podcast. And, you know, once again, thanks for all your support, Shane, man. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's, it's been fantastic sitting down and talking.
Awesome, man. And all right, well, take care. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.